You think you know what we're going to talk about.
But unfortunately, I fell down a damn rabbit hole and I've not gotten out yet.
Knife bros.
I literally Googled Sebastian Stan hands.
But just when you least expect it, we changed the game.
Well, yeah, because like usually in astrology, they would partner up air signs with fire signs.
All right, you can huggle.
Time travel stories and
At the end of the day, only one thing matters. We decide.
Well, we should make it a topic. Unfortunately, I didn't take German in school. I took Spanish and I don't remember any of it.
Three Fates Decide podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Three Fates Decide. My name is Sam and I'm here with my co-hosts Liz and Mary. And we are going to be continuing our discussion on movies, but specifically how Hollywood has completely lost originality and why it sucks. So, guys, say hello and let's get this going.
Hello.
Hi.
So something that definitely has been annoying me in terms of movies and Hollywood in general is the loss of being original. There's nothing but remakes, or they're taking stories from other sources and things like that. Like no one can come up with like an original screenplay idea anymore.
Yeah. I mean, mostly the only thing that, and we were talking about this the other day, and I know Liz agrees with me on this one, is the only quote unquote new stuff that's coming out of Hollywood is when they're getting it from a book or a book series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I absolutely love Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But how many remixes do you really need of Batman? I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Thing.
the same story. His parents got murdered in an alley.
Yes. He gets stuck in a dark cave with bats.
And he has a butler named Alfred.
Yeah, and he's a billionaire.
And he's a billionaire.
You can't really do much other. I mean, really?
Yeah. I mean, there's been more Batmans than, including the TV series and stuff like that. I mean, it's just been crazy.
Yeah. I think Batman is isn't he like the most popular superhero like for movies and televisions and television stuff to be made?
Probably. I mean, I can understand the appeal because he's a normal guy that just happens to have the money to have all the gadgets.
Dress up like a bat at night?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Well, who's your favorite Batman?
Oh, damn, you had to say it. You had to ask me.
I know who mine is.
Oh God.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a toss up between Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. I liked both. Because it was Batman, but they were two different. I mean, it was the same story, but they different ways of playing the same character.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael Keaton.
Yeah, the thing I didn't like about Christian Bale is like when he did the deep voice, sometimes it just sounded really weird.
True. I'll give you
when
that.
He was like yelling at somebody, like when he was like, "Swear to me!" Like, okay, fine, but like sometimes he would like talk and he would sound like I don't even know. Like,
yeah, it's like it was a little weird.
Yeah, like we are talking about live action Batman. I mean, let's be honest, the best Batman is Kevin Conroy.
Yes, absolutely. Go back.
I mean, granted, he was doing the animated version, but he was a really great Batman.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Okay,
but
so
yeah, no, between cartoons and stuff, it's just been one too many.
Honestly,
and we got another one coming.
I mean, Spider-Man is getting to that level too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like I just don't
Superman too.
understand.
They've done a lot of Supermans.
Yeah. Well, the one with oh, what's his name? Superman Returns. Brandon Routh.
Right.
That at
Mhm.
least was like a different story.
Mhm.
It's like in like, the future, well, not the future, but like, it's years later and he has a kid that he doesn't know about, so like at least it was a different story. People don't actually like that movie. I didn't actually think it was that bad, but yeah, like the origin stories, like it should be once and done.
Yeah.
Keep going. At least like with Spider-Man, like with the MCU, they didn't go back and tell the same story again. Like when we
This is
meet Peter Parker, like he's already Spider-Man. Like we already
right.
know his story. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah, because I like how Tony did, and he's like, yeah, spider and all that. Yeah, 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 whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're
he's
the
like
Spider Boy,
spider,
the
spiderling,
human
crime
spider.
fighting spider, spider boy,
Oh, I'm
Spider
gonna miss
Man.
Tony.
I know. Mm, poor Tony.
But
They
yeah,
did
so like
Tony dirty. Damn it, they did Tony dirty.
yeah, he went down a hero. It's okay. That's how
I
he should have
know,
gone down.
but he had a kid. That's just like
I
they did him dirty.
know. I know. He was fine. That was the one thing he wanted was his family, and he lost it. I know. It's
I know.
sad. It's sad. But digressing.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah, no. So like it's either the constant remakes of the same thing, or like I said, taking it from another source. So like, I mean, I like the comic book movies, obviously. Like, but
Mhm.
if you think about it now, what else is being made besides movies from comic books or remakes or musicals that have been on Broadway or, like other than that, there's nothing
Yeah, and
except
like
for like indie movies,
indie movies, or it's coming straight from a book.
right? Or books. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's why like I think when Parasite made such a huge splash last year, it really was significant because that was a completely original story and it did so well, really.
Mm-hmm.
It I
Mhm.
mean, I have to admit I was like cheering at watching the Oscars at home, like when they won the awards that they did because it's an original story. It's not in English. It's not, it's not a American co-production. I mean, it's a purely Korean movie production, directing, writing, acting, and it managed to do something that so many other movies that are not like English language, English, Anglophone co-produced movie dreams of achieving. And, so it proves that you can find some really good originally written stories, but you have to be willing to actually make them. And I just feel like Hollywood has gotten to the point where they're primarily chasing the dollar and they're not prepared to gamble on, something that would be a little more experimental or whatever. I mean, I'm trying to even now I'm struggling to think what was the last truly creative like originally written story that was really really solid and good.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
really struggling.
Yeah. It's
same.
like I'm even thinking like going back to like past like Oscar winners for like best picture.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's I mean, I don't mind movies that are based on true events as long as it's original screenplays. You know what I mean? Like this like yeah, okay, like you're still getting like a story, but like you can I don't know, like that stuff doesn't
Mhm.
bother me. So like things like Lincoln or like I just watched this movie last night, The King's Speech and stuff like that. Like yeah, okay, they didn't come up with the plot of the movie because obviously it's based on true events, but it's like that stuff doesn't
Mhm.
bother me as much as like, you know, from a book or from a comic or from a musical or from, you know what I mean? Like I don't know why, but like
Right.
I want like there's so many things that I would make a movie about that I feel like needs to be told.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. We
I
just
mean,
kind
I'm
of
writing I have 2 screenplays going right now. Boom. Sell 'em.
yeah, I mean, like we were kind of talking a little bit about that, like in the previous episode, about how, there's so many other stories out there that could be told, but nobody's prepared. Like, I mean, mainstream, Hollywood producers and production companies, not many of them are prepared to gamble on something truly original unless they can get very well respected people involved in it. Like, if they knew that Spielberg was going to agree to direct it, then that would probably get way more credibility and
Mhm.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does make me wonder how many amazing screenplays are actually out there, but because they're from like no name people that don't have the connections, they're never going to be made. And
Yeah.
like we're going to be stuck in this loop.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I'm more excited for TV shows than I am movies anymore because there's
Yeah.
been because I mean, TV shows are at least becoming better because they're getting bigger budgets to do more stuff.
Well, the streaming companies have definitely helped
Yes. Yes.
in that regard. It's almost like making a TV show is as much, work as a film.
Hmm.
So yeah, they get these like nice big budgets and they can, do and there's a lot of shows that like on streaming that I actually like. I don't watch like TV too much anymore because all the shows that I used to watch like Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that, I'm like over it. Like it just needs to end because you're on like your 20,000th
Episode.
season
Yeah.
oh God,
and you've killed everybody and
A
like
couple of times.
I'm just done. I'm done. Just be over. But no, but like streaming and stuff like that, like that's the one thing with the pandemic and working from home. I just used to like watch all these shows. Um
Hmm.
and I found a couple that I actually really enjoy. Um so, yeah, which I think has also hurt the movie business. But if you notice a lot of actors now are going more toward the, short series on Netflix or Hulu or,
Yeah.
Amazon or Apple TV and stuff like that because it's really all that's being offered.
Pretty much. I mean, I do love the fact that they started making The Witcher because I loved the games.
Mm,
Um, and they are based on books. I unfortunately have never had a chance to actually read the books, even though I've wanted to. I've just never been able to find the time. But I guess it seemed from what I've read that The Witcher on Netflix has actually stayed pretty true to the books. I
yeah.
think they've stayed pretty true to that, which is awesome.
I mean, I guess from what I would think is that for like a book series, like if it's one book, then yes,
Mhm.
I would do like a movie. But if it's like a series, I would do like a short series of episodes,
Yeah.
or just like a series because like Bridgerton, right? It's a series of
Right.
books and each
Hmm.
season is going to be a book.
Right.
That's how it should be done because you can, even though in this case Bridgerton, they took liberties and added characters and added plots that weren't actually in the book. It was still awesome. I actually prefer the series to the book, believe it or not, which is shocking. But how many times do you read books and then watch movies and you're like, what the hell did you do? If you did a series, you could go more in depth because you could take an entire season on just that one book and make sure all the important plot points are in there, carry the story on.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's
Man, I
kind of
should
like what
totally
happened.
work for Hollywood.
I mean, that's kind of like what happened with Game of Thrones is, although a lot of
We all
fans
know how that ended.
right, although a lot of fans kind of felt like people who actually read the books, they kind of felt like, well, they actually cut out way too much stuff. Like they could have kept so much more stuff in there, and it would have been much more satisfying development. But as to how that show ended, a part of you, if you want to blame anybody, a huge chunk of it is obviously the showrunners, but you also sort of end up blaming Martin a little bit for not getting at least the sixth book out earlier. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, I guess I can understand that part because they don't know where the story's going to go, so they start doing what they need to do to keep doing the series. So,
yeah, but then it turned out that for those two guys that apparently they're not good at coming up with complex characters and plots because you notice a huge difference in the quality, particularly in the final two seasons. I mean, season 6 was actually not bad, even though it was technically made up of content that does not exist in the printed novels. But season 6 overall was pretty solid. I mean, in fact, some people kind of argue that it's actually better than season 5, which was mostly based off of the fifth book and the last book that actually got published thus far. So, but yeah, I mean, when you compare like the final two seasons to the earlier, 6 seasons, you notice a huge quality shift in the story and the writing. Obviously, the acting and the special effects were good. In fact, there's a pretty good case to be made the special effects may have gotten better because the budget kept increasing every year. But yeah, the real weakness was the writing. Real weakness is
Yeah.
there. So
But I'm looking forward to seeing how Amazon TV is going to actually do with Lord of the Rings
yes,
because they're making a TV show out of it, out of some of the books that he wrote, not the actual trilogy
trilogy.
books. It's going to be what, like 2,000 years before, or like maybe in the era before too, something like that.
So is it like in between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings?
No, it's before The Hobbit even.
Oh, it's before The Hobbit. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I didn't
before
read The
all of them.
Hobbit. I only read Lord of the Rings.
I've read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I've not read any of the other stuff though.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that they're not redoing like taking like the trilogy of Lord of the Rings because actually those movies were very well done.
They were.
But Peter Jackson like made sure he kept to the books.
Yeah.
And again, I have no problem with taking a book and recreating it into a movie because sometimes like people like to have that visualization. Um,
Mhm.
so like there's a lot like Hunger Games I thought was really good. Um, I'm not gonna go into
Def-
Harry Potter because I know I kind of complained about that last time. Um, but uh, you know, Lord of the Rings was really good. I know The Hobbit was pretty good also, I believe, in terms of the book. Um,
Yeah.
so there's been a lot of really good movies that have come out of books. I just think like we just need to kind of go back to I don't even know, like
Old
even like
Hollywood.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Go back to I mean basically old Hollywood to get
yeah.
the new original movies, movie ideas and screenplays and the writing, and it's just even the acting.
Mm.
Yeah, because I know we talked about it last time, like all the even though the special effects were so fake back then, but it was such good acting that you didn't notice it.
Right. And if you watch it now, you don't even care.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's why, like, there's a lot of movies today, while, you know, as you mentioned, like the effects are much better. Like, now it's actually funny when you watch a movie today and you see that the effects aren't as good as they should be. Right away, like, I call it out. I'm like, damn, like, what's going on? Why is the CGI so bad? Like, I
Right.
feel like as an audience, we've just picked up on that kind of stuff.
Hmm. It's like we
Oh,
know what's good now.
we expect better.
Yeah. And when we see it and it's not good, we're like, that ain't it.
Oh god, but yeah, no. There's just, I don't know. And then some of most of the remakes. I mean, there are some movies that were made in like the 80s or 90s that were like remakes, and they weren't bad. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like today a lot of the remakes, like, I'm going to use Ghostbusters as an example. You took this
Mhm.
film that is a cult classic, and you
Exactly.
decide, let's change it so that it's women. And yes, I want women to be represented. I want other cultures to be represented in certain aspects and stuff like that. But why do you have to take a movie that was already made and remake it into that?
Right.
Why can't you just come up with something else to get that, like,
Mhm.
across? Like, um something like, and it was more of a TV movie. um oh my god, what is it called? Crap. Steel Magnolias. I don't know if you remember, a couple years ago, they did Steel Magnolias on, was it Lifetime?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a huge fan of the original.
I love the original. Love the
Yes.
original. And they remade it. And the actors did a fantastic job. Queen Latifah was amazing.
Hmm.
Such a dramatic role for her. It
Right.
didn't need to be done.
Exactly. And
Like,
it's
I
not
understand what they're trying to do, but you didn't have to take a movie that was already so well done and do that.
right.
Just like I wouldn't wanna do that to, you know what I mean? Like, and it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with, that it's, if it was men and it changed to women, or, race, or, you know, anything like that. It's more of just leave it alone.
Exactly. I mean, Queen Latifah did a movie, what was it? I think it was The Last Holiday.
Mhm.
And I mean, she
Yes.
was phenomenal in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
really,
love her.
she was great in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it has nothing to do with her or her acting or her abilities or any of that. It's just the movie didn't need to be remade into
Right.
anything.
Right. No, exactly. And
Because I
that's
mean, the original is a classic. I mean, you've got Sally Fields, you've got Julia Roberts. I mean, you got Dolly Parton in it for goodness sake.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got was it Shirley MacLaine?
Mhm.
McLean.
Yeah. I mean, you've got all these phenomenal female actresses that are in this movie, and you go and remake it into a TV movie. Okay, fine, but it didn't need to be done. It's
Right.
like, come on, Hollywood, you could do better. You can do
Right. And
better.
I really just want to preface from, like, it has nothing to do with the race, because I don't want people to think like I'm being like,
It, no, not at all.
it's
Not at all.
it's I actually only watched it because of Queen Latifah.
Right.
She's my Jersey girl,
Mhm.
and, like, we're sisters by New Jersey standards. So, um, but it was more of just the fact that I just don't like remaking something for the sake of remaking. And I would feel the same way if they did, like, the what was the holiday that you just mentioned?
The Last Holiday.
Yeah, if they did the same thing where they took that movie and put, 4 white women in there. Why?
Yeah,
It
it
was
just
fine the
wouldn't.
way it was.
Yeah,
Leave it
it
alone.
wouldn't. It would not be the movie it is if it was anybody else but her playing it. I don't know. It's just sometimes I think Hollywood thinks that it's like they have no original thoughts in their heads anymore. It's like, come on, I know you can come up with something better than what you've been doing.
I mean, I just think at this point it's really because of the money. I mean, I think
Mhm.
that knowing, okay, for example, like, well, obviously at the time it was kind of a gamble to do Lord of the Rings because, they're like these fantasy novels that, only certain types of people read and whatnot. But, as an example, if you want to use Lord of the Rings, is that knowing the fact that it is a classic book or, a book that has like a huge audience potential,
Mm-hmm.
that would give the producers and the director and whatever um more ability to convince people to give them money for the budget.
Mhm.
Because as long as now obviously no project is like a guaranteed hit. Obviously there's no such thing, but the probability that you are going to get pretty good return on this movie if you were to pony up the money to produce it is better if you know for a fact that the material you're basing this movie off of has an existing audience.
Right.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
and I do get that. Yeah.
yeah. So I just kind of feel like that's just a huge aspect of it is that Hollywood want producers and moneymakers, they want to know that if I plop down, I don't know, $500 million on this movie, that you're going to be able to give me back better than that 500 million I'm plopping down on the budget. That kind of a thing. That kind of mentality is kind of like, to me at least, seems to be what has taken over a majority of the stuff that gets produced every year. And the other thing to take into consideration, now that I think of it, literally just now I was thinking of it, is that you have to consider the potential to export the movie because the thing that not everybody realizes is that a good chunk of the box office returns that Hollywood makes now is from foreign movie markets.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that you could have, I don't know, let's pick another movie like Schindler's List. Like you could try to make another great movie like Schindler's List, but are you prepared to gamble that a lot of people overseas are going to watch this movie when it doesn't have like explosions and easy to understand straightforward plot like most superhero movies or Fast and the Furious movies have? I mean,
We're not even going to talk about the Fast and Furious movies. They keep making those damn things.
right, but you kind of get the point. It's like it's
Yeah.
relatively, simple, plot line if there really is one, and it's an action movie that's always guaranteed to get people watching. So it's like it's like all these different factors I kind of realize is a big consideration on what Hollywood produces nowadays, and it's kind of sad really that not as
Yeah.
many people are prepared to gamble on like a really like more serious stuff that doesn't have big name established Hollywood people attached to it already. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that if Leonardo DiCaprio was going to play the lead character in this independent movie, that would have a better shot at just from the marketing perspective alone to get
Mhm.
people to watch it.
Right. Right.
Or
Well, look at the independent movies that tend to do well are the ones that have more of a high status star in them.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
So, but you gotta shell out that money.
Right. I think the last decent movie that I watched that wasn't like a superhero action movie was probably a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, and it was probably The Revenant for me.
Mm.
Of course, it tells you how long ago I actually really sat down and watched a movie that wasn't Marvel or superhero action movie, but I don't have time. Damn it, I
Yeah.
don't have time.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
no, well, and it's so funny, like talking about Fast and the Furious and how many movies. Like last night, I was talking about like I don't know how we got on the subject, but we were talking about like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like they made one too many of those movies. I love Johnny Depp like as much as the next person, but the, stop after 2. They didn't even need to make the third one.
No, I mean, I was okay with the third one. With after that, they
Well,
should have
yeah, because
stopped.
that was kind of like that kind of ended like the Will and
Yeah,
Elizabeth story.
yeah. So I mean, it's like I was okay with the third. They didn't really need to make the third one, but I was okay with the third one. But
Mhm.
after that, they needed to stop.
Yeah.
Ka-ching.
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, I know. It's all money. It's all money.
But I'm trying to think what other movies have one too many sequels.
The Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, that one.
I
What are they
mean,
on 50?
I think they're on number 9.
Oh, I don't even remember anymore.
I'm not joking. I think it's number 9. I think they're going to be filming like Fast and Furious 9 soon. I'm like, they needed to stop after Paul Walker's death. I mean, rest in peace, Paul. You were one of my favorite actors. I loved you, man.
That was
But
so
they
sad.
needed to stop. Yeah, that was a horrible thing. But they needed to stop after his death. They probably needed to stop before that, but
Well, right, like his last movie should have been the end.
it should have been. I mean, I thought it was amazing that his brother actually stepped in
And
to
finished his movie.
finish filming it because for him.
That
So
was so hard.
yeah, but I'm trying to think anything. What other? Well, I mean, we already talked about the Batman thing. I mean, there's
Right.
one too many of those at this point. Superman got a little crazy because there have been several TV shows, several
Yeah.
everything else is.
Oh my God, I was talking about something last night, and we were talking about how they just made one too many movies, and I can't think of what it is. Crap. Oh well.
Hmm.
But
Trying to think. What else have they made one too many of? They've made one too many Mummy movies. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
the original 2 was awesome.
Yeah, the
Yes.
first two were fine. Like
Yeah.
you get introduced to the characters, and then you do a kind of a cute kind of a follow up that also actually makes sense
Mhm.
given what happened in the first movie. And then that was about it.
Yeah, but when Rachel Weisz didn't come back for the third one, I was like I was done. If you're gonna make the third one, then they need to have made it with her.
I hate when they do that. Like
Yes.
when you have
No,
like a sequel or whatever, and not all of the original characters are in it. It's like now you
The
just ruined
original
it for me.
actors, you mean? Because it's the
Yeah.
original characters,
Yeah, I'm
it's just
sorry.
not the
Yes,
original actors.
I meant actors. The original actors aren't in it because now you just like ruined it for me. Like
Right.
I don't get sucked in like I want to.
Right.
And I mean, I get it. Sometimes it's, you know, scheduling conflict or the actor wasn't, happy. Sometimes it turns out for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Marvel, for instance, with Mark Ruffalo coming in as Hulk.
Yes.
But
Another good one was going back to Lord of the Rings is they actually had Stuart Townsend was supposed to play Aragorn, and
mm,
they started filming like they got like a couple of days into filming, and he wasn't cutting it, so they actually pulled him, and that's how Viggo Mortensen got the role.
God bless Viggo Mortensen.
Right?
Made me love Aragorn. I wanted to be Liv Tyler's character.
Me too.
I'll love you.
Me too.
I'll be your elf princess.
Seriously.
Oh god, too
But
funny. But yeah, no, like so
yeah,
I get that sometimes it happens and sometimes it's for the better, but sometimes it just ruins it for me.
yeah. Because I really didn't feel like Brendan Fraser and God, what is her name?
Yeah, I see her face.
Yeah, I can picture her face.
Hold on.
Maria Bello.
Yeah, Maria Bello. They just did not have the same chemistry to me
Mm-hmm.
that him and Rachel did.
Brandon Fraser. He got like kicked out of Hollywood.
Yeah, well, yeah. He had a nasty divorce with his ex-wife, and I mean, she took him for everything, if I remember correctly.
Makes you almost not want to be a celebrity.
Oh, there's
I'm
many.
glad I'm not a celebrity.
I mean, there's many things to make you not want to be a celebrity. Penny things.
Well, that's why like I keep saying like I would love to be an actor. I just don't want to be a celebrity. Like
Yeah,
I
but
don't like
unfortunately, they kind of go hand in hand.
not if you're on like Hallmark Channel,
True.
unless you're, DJ Tanner.
Yeah, Candace Cameron Bure.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I as much as again I mentioned like the musicals and stuff, like I do it depends like movie musicals obviously like and I know we talked about this in the last episode like the old like MGM movie musicals were just like they're on a whole different level
Oh yeah.
and then like now where they're bringing Broadway to life but it's like a hit or miss. I mean you could have um like Mamma Mia, which was fantastic. And then you have Cats, which was a disaster.
I never even
And
saw Cats.
oh, don't
I
do
didn't
it.
watch Cats either. It's not.
Just
I was never a big fan of Cats to begin with, so no interest.
I mean, it's the only thing the reason why I honestly didn't like it is it freaked me out. Instead of doing it like the actual musical where they're, dressed up as cats with paint on their face, they CGI'd them to look like cats.
That's just
And
weird.
it was just weird. But
You know what?
HUD
Yeah, right.
killed memories. That's all I'm saying. She
I
killed
mean,
it
the other thing they could have done
in a good
though
way.
is they could have like made like they could have used like actual like almost like kind of like what they did with the Lion King, where you had photorealistic looking cats, and then you do the voiceover work or something. You could have done that
Mhm.
too. So you could have kept it
Yeah.
like realistically like it's a cat, but not like a cat human kind of a thing. That's just weird.
Yeah, like
Right.
used real cats and then just like you said, voiceover and CGI the like moving, like talking.
But yeah, so like that's why like I didn't like it. But like, there's been a couple of musicals that were created or movies that were created from musicals and I'm like, why? Why'd you do it? Why did you do it? But
I
there's
say that
others.
every time I turn around. I'm like, why?
Though I am very excited for In the Heights.
Actually, here's another thing I kind of wonder now.
Mhm.
Obviously, a big factor is are producers and studios willing to fund the money for a movie? But I'm also kind of wondering could another factor be the quality of screenplays coming in? Another issue.
Yeah, I mean it could be. 'Cause, I mean if the screenplays aren't up to par, you're gonna get a subpar movie because if the writing isn't very good.
Yeah, I kind of wonder in general if a factor is screenplays because I mean, I tried taking a screenwriting class before. And now granted, it wasn't a class where like we actually wrote a screenplay. It's like kind of like the basics, like how to start off, how to
Right.
get to the starting point of like before you actually write the screenplay itself. I quickly realized that as much as I enjoy writing, screenplays is never going to be my medium. It's just not ever going to be a medium that I can really get into.
But there could be a bunch of scripts that are good, but if they're not well known, who knows if we'll ever see them. It's like Hollywood's almost like a secret society.
Yeah.
Secret, non-secret society.
Yeah, that's like what we were saying earlier about how, streaming services like Netflix and, Amazon and Hulu, they're becoming big players now because, I mean, obviously it's still not completely easy to sell your concept to any of the three of them, but it seems like they may be more willing to gamble on your spec script or your pitch meeting concept than the traditional studios are these days. That's what it feels like to me. I don't know what you guys think.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if I kind of going into like the whole indie film thing, you think of who usually picks some of that up, like Sundance Film Festival, like quality indie films usually get picked up by like Netflix or, Amazon or Hulu or something like that, obviously if they're good enough. Usually if you do well at Sundance, I think you're okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or even better than Sundance, like Cannes.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like, if you want to get your movie, made, if you can't go, the big studio route that, people would have been doing like, 30, 40 years ago, your best shot is to somehow independently get the money and in essence make the movie yourself and start submitting it all over the place to a bunch of different festivals and see if you happen to bump into a producer or some executive who's like shopping for independent movies for their company to distribute the coming year.
It's actually a great idea if you want to kind of break into the business, regardless of, I think, any job for, in terms of like movie making. So whether you're a director or a screenwriter or even like an actor or something like that, like to do these film festivals and, maybe the first one but like get some like critiques in there and just like, keep evolving, keep going in the indie film those indie like festivals. And then eventually, you learn things from, talking to people because like those festivals are huge. I mean, obviously pre-pandemic and hopefully eventually they'll get back to that type of thing. But like those things could be huge. And if you just constantly keep going out and your name keeps getting mentioned, that you're getting better and better each time you put something in there, I think eventually you'll make it.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch us next time.
And see what we're going to talk about.
Because the three fates decide.